This video is the step-by-step guide to starting a profitable SMMA to 10 to 30k per month in 2025. Now, since it's probably the first time you and I meet, why should you listen to me? My name is Fred, and I'm an entrepreneur from a lower middle class background. 5 years ago, I only had $400 and I was desperate to find a way to make this SMMA thing work for me. And nowadays, I make over 1k a day with my own consulting business. The first step is to first create your own income goal. How many clients would you need at what price point in order to make your monthly desired income? Because let's be honest, you are starting a business to make money, and that's amazing. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm making videos to make money. Sure, I get to help people and it's amazing, but the number one reason I'm doing this is to grow my own business. So I found it pretty funny when a guy like Hormozy had on his banner, "I have nothing to sell you," and then it turns out, yes, he has something to sell you. Everyone has something to sell you, and there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, if you have a problem with that, that's probably the reason why you're still broke. So click off this video, it's not going to help you, because you won't even be able to sell to your own ideal customers because you have a problem with selling. You have a limiting belief, and if you're not willing to overcome it, you won't stay broke. Now, maybe the reason you want to start your business is so you can finally quit your 9-to-5 job, provide for the people that you love, even for your future family. Maybe you want to travel the world, buy nice, expensive stuff that you like. Whatever it may be that you want. Before we even get started with the business tactics, the how-tos, you need to set clear, specific goals. And there's this quote I love which goes, "The trouble with not having a goal is that you can spend your entire life running up and down the field and never actually score." So first, you need to figure out what you want and why you want it. Why do you want to make $10,000 per month? Why do you want to make $20,000 per month? What's the motivation behind it? Because a number, it's not enough to motivate you. It's what you would do with that number in your bank account that's actually motivating. Because on its own, 10k per month is plain and boring and it's just not interesting. What would it allow you to do? Why do you want it? And the reason why this is extremely important is because human beings will only put in the work, especially if it's boring, if they have a strong enough reason to do it. If they don't, they won't even get started, or even if they do get started, they will quit halfway through. Because human beings only ever do things to either move away from pain or move closer towards pleasure. And typically in anything that we do, it's actually both at the same time. I started a business over almost 3 years ago because I wanted to not work a 9-to-5 job, and I also wanted to make a lot of money and to be free to do whatever I want, whenever I want. So I was both motivated by pain, wanting to avoid it, and by pleasure, wanting to gain something better. But typically, the most powerful motivation is always to avoid the pain. If I told you right now, if you work for 10 hours a day for 365 days, you might be able to buy your dream home. Are you really going to do it? Whereas if I told you, if you don't work for 10 hours a day for 365 days, you will lose your home, all your savings, and the person that you love the most will die. It's quite obvious that right now you'd have a very big incentive to actually work those 10 hours a day for an entire year straight. And that's why every motivation is good to take. The fear of failure, use that as a motivation. Wanting to prove your haters wrong, use that as a source of fuel. So now that you really know what your ideal vision of life is, why you want to make 10, 20, $30,000 per month, even more, what your life would look like once you've achieved it, we need to actually work on your mindset. Now, if you think this is some woo-woo BS, click off this video. It's not my problem. You will stay in the same situation you're in right now. I promised to give you raw, honest, and valuable advice on this channel. So if you don't want to hear it, go watch other videos or go have some fun. I don't care. You will stay exactly where you are. But if you're an ambitious individual and you want more out of life, you want to make 10, 20, $30,000 per month, even more, this video is perfect for you because I'm sharing with you everything. I could charge thousands of dollars for this. So like I said, you need to work on your mindset. And the most important thing, if you want to become successful, it's not to meditate, it's not to take cold showers, it's none of this. Those are good positive habits and I have some of those myself, but on their own, they're not enough to make you successful. What you need is to fall in love with pain, with resistance. So what do I mean by that exactly? A lot of people, they're afraid to reach out to potential customers. They're afraid to invest their savings into their business. They're afraid to take risks. But you need to take risks to gain something out of it. It takes money to make money. Sure, you can start an SMMA business with $0, the way I teach my students how to do it. But if you want to receive the guidance that you need to not fail, to follow the correct process, it requires money. So it takes money to make money. And some of the things I'm going to share with you, you're not going to feel like doing them. You're not going to feel like reaching out to potential customers. You're not going to feel like conducting sales meetings and asking questions you might be uncomfortable to ask. But whenever you feel resistance and pain, you want to embrace it. You want to see it as a sign of growth. No pain, no gain. Growth only happens when you felt some pain. When you go to the gym, you exercise, you want to build more muscle, it's difficult, it feels painful. So wanting to build a business with no resistance, with never feeling any pain, it's like wanting to get jacked, but you never actually make any sacrifices or you never feel any pain. If you want to become successful, you need to accept that you you will have to go through pain. You will have to overcome resistance, to force yourself to do the things you don't feel like doing. And then the more you do these things, sales calls, reaching out to potential customers, etc., the easier it becomes to do these activities. And going through life thinking you can avoid to feel any resistance is a stupid, foolish idea. No matter what it is that you do, and even in every aspect of your life, you will face resistance. Let's say you wanted to date, to have an amazing relationship. Well, you can be alone and be miserable and be unhappy because you want to share your life with somebody, or you can put yourself out there, go on dating apps, try to date in real life, and sure, it will feel uncomfortable, you might even get rejected, it might hurt your ego a bit, but you could potentially find the love of your life. Either way, you're going to feel resistance and pain. So the question you need to ask yourself is not, how do I avoid the pain? Because you can't. You genuinely can't. The first thing you do when you're born is to cry because you're breathing for the first time and it hurts. Pain is at the center of life, you have to accept it. So you're either going to choose for no reason or you're going to choose to suffer for something that's worth it. You are either going to face the resistance, the pain that comes from reaching out to potential customers, taking sales calls, facing rejection, or the pain of having to wake up every morning to go work a soul-crushing 9-to-5 job just because you have to, not because you want to. Either way, you will feel pain, but one of these two options can make you 10, 20, 30,000 dollars per month. It can even make you a millionaire and allow you to do whatever you want. It can give you so much freedom, it's insane. While the other alternative, it leads nowhere and you already know it. So it's your choice. You need to stop running away from pain. And there are no magic tricks or special flavors of the week. And that attitude, wanting to sedate yourself from the pain, wanting to avoid pain, it's what kept me procrastinating for 7 months over 3 years ago when I tried to start my own consulting business / SMMA business. I was so afraid of rejection, of failure, of feeling bad that I couldn't even reach out to potential customers because I kept telling myself I wouldn't be taken seriously. Nobody would answer to me. Nobody would even hop on a meeting with me. But once I finally just realized, okay, well, if I don't change, nothing is gonna change. If I don't face this resistance, nothing is ever gonna change. I'm going to stay broke, miserable, unhappy, and at the end of my life, I will genuinely hate myself. Because one of my goals had always been to be successful at a young age, in my early 20s. And back then I was like 17, 18. And I thought, well, time is going by faster than I realize. Each day I wake up, I'm just getting older. So if I want to become successful in my early 20s, I better get started now. And then I started working with a mentor, and honestly, he changed my life. His program completely changed everything for me. It taught me how to do business properly. It taught me how to sell, how to create an amazing offer. So genuinely, it changed my life. But what that mentor taught me is that in order to become successful, I had to become a different version of myself. I had to do things I wasn't used to doing. I had to be okay with doing things which were scary, like reaching out to potential customers and exposing myself to potential rejection. So stop running away from pain. It's not until I stopped trying to sedate myself, trying to avoid my negative emotions, that I started to make serious money online. Thousands of dollars per month and even per day. Now, I do quickly want to say that if you want to start an SMMA or you want to grow your own SMMA and you would like to be mentored by me directly, you can apply to book a call with me or my team and you'll see if you qualify for working closely with us. I do have to warn you, there won't be enough spots for everyone and this is a limited time offer, so make sure to book your call before all the spots are filled up. Now, once you know exactly what you want and why you want it, once you accepted that you will face pain, now it's time to pick a niche. Now, when you're picking a niche, first, there's a few key rules you need to follow. First, you only want to work with one single niche. I've conducted like hundreds of calls with people who wanted to start an SMMA or people who had a successful business and wanted to grow it. And every single time, the people who were working with multiple niches at the same time, they were barely making any money. Like at most, they were making $1,000 per month. And most of them were at $0 per month. And the reason why this happens is simple. You can't speak to real estate agents the same way you're going to speak to gym owners because they want completely different things. Like sure, at the end of the day, they want to make more money, but the way you have to help them to get that outcome is different. They don't use the same vocabulary. They don't think the same way. They don't have the same problems. They don't face the same issues in their business. So if you try to speak to everybody, you will end up speaking to no one. It's like if you tried to create an ad and you said, hey everybody, who's going to pay attention to you? No one. However, if instead you said, are you a gym owner in California trying to get more members? Now all of the gym owners in California who are struggling to get new members, they'd be like, hey, this is me. They would recognize themselves in your headline and so they would read what's next. But if you just said, hey everybody, the people they're trying to target, the gym owners in California, they probably wouldn't even read it. They wouldn't bother because you're talking to everyone. The riches are in the niches. Like a lot of people online, they think the more followers you have, the more money you're gonna make. But there's plenty of people, they've got 1 million, 2 million, 3 million followers, even more. And they make less money than small channels like mine with not even 10,000 subscribers. And the reason for that is one view from your ideal customers is a lot more valuable than one view from just any kind of viewer. Views don't matter, likes don't matter, they're not money in your bank account. The right type of views matter. So you want to niche down, and to only pick one niche, you have to understand that you're not married to your niche. Even if you picked the wrong niche, let's say it was extremely saturated and for some reason you really couldn't stand out, well, you're not tied down to that niche, you can just hop into another niche after you've tested it out. But most of the time when people say, this market is oversaturated, what they're really saying is that they don't know how to differentiate themselves from the competition and make a spot for themselves. One day, I read the book called Shoe Dog. It basically tells the entire story of Nike, and if I remember correctly, Nike became a big business even though there were other brands on the market, like Puma, like Adidas. Yet, it didn't prevent them from becoming one of the biggest sports brands in the industry. So when people say, oh, the market is too saturated, in reality, it's just an excuse for lack of expertise. That's it, because there's always a spot for the right person, for the right product. Just think about this. Let's say you work with gym owners. If you could give them a pill, and if they swallowed that pill, they would automatically gain as many members as they wanted, don't you think there wouldn't be a spot for you in that market? Obviously there would be. But you have to realize, sitting on the fence, not being able to pick a niche, it's in nobody's best interest. It's not in your best interest because it's time that you're just wasting, not even getting started, not even reaching out to potential clients and figuring out if your offer is good or not, and you're also not helping your ideal customers because they don't even know about you. You haven't reached out to them yet. Now, most people, they think about the niche selection completely backwards. They think they need to already know how to deliver services for their customers. And since 99% of the time, that's not the case, they just give up. And so they give up on their dream to make 10, 20, 30,000 dollars per month because they stay stuck thinking, I have no skills, no experience, so I can't possibly do anything then. When I started my Done For You lead generation service back in like 2022, I didn't know how to book meetings, but I told myself, I'm gonna start and I'm gonna figure it out. And then I did, because I invested in 2 programs, I literally read everything on the subject, I watched every video on the subject, and then I became great at booking appointments. And I was able to crush everybody else because whereas most people I knew were struggling to book 5 meetings per month, I was able to book 5 meetings per day. So in order to pick your niche, first, you need to identify a group of people who have a specific problem that you could solve for them. At first, don't focus on whether or not you can help them to solve that problem. We want you to pick a niche first. So to give an example, you could be helping real estate agents to get more leads. You could be helping content creators to make their videos better so they reach more people and grow their brand. You could be helping gym owners to get more members. There's plenty of services you can offer. So what I invite you to do right now is to list out all the industries that you know and figure out what their problems are. If you already know, write it down. But you can also simply do that by doing some research on the internet or by going and, let's say, adding somebody as a LinkedIn connection, like a gym owner, a real estate agent, and you ask them, what are your problems which are preventing you from scaling your business? They'll give you the answer. And far too many people, the mistake they make is trying to sell something which people don't care about. So what they're doing is essentially going in the street, asking somebody, hey, do you want to buy my car? You should buy my car. It's an amazing car. But since they don't ask any questions, they don't even let the person speak, they don't even realize that the person doesn't even have a driver's license. So it's like, okay, great, you're trying to sell me a car, I don't even have a driver's license. You know, it's kind of stupid. But most people, they come up with all these fancy ideas of what they think people want, and then when they realize, oh, actually nobody wants that, they've wasted months, even years of their life in the process, and now they can't get all that time back. If instead you conducted your market research, you went to people and asked them what they want, you would get an answer. But most people won't even do that because, again, they're afraid of rejection. They're afraid of embracing pain. But if you can't even tolerate rejection, you can't embrace the pain, you can't fail and look at it as a lesson instead of as a failure, you will never be successful in business. I'm telling you the raw, honest truth. Step number 4 is an intense research phase. Now that we know your niche, you need to become the go-to expert in your niche. Now, obviously, that won't happen overnight, and you don't need to be an expert to sign your first customers and to start making money. But what you want to do is to become obsessed with your niche's problems and desires. Ideally, you want to know your niche so well, you'd be able to write a page in their diary. For example, if you're going to help gym owners to get more members, you want to read everything about the subject. Read everything about how to retain new members in your gym. Read everything about the pain points, the problems faced by gym owners. Figure out what language they use, what softwares they use. Really immerse yourself in their world. You can even cold call gyms and ask them, what problem are you facing in your business right now? I'm not going to sell you anything, I'm just doing some market research. What would you need? What problems are you facing when you're trying to retain new members? You could even say you're a university student and you're trying to gather information for an assignment. And it works. People just give you answers. Not everyone. You will face rejection. Again, remember, you'll face resistance, but it's well worth it. People expect everything out of nothing. They expect a $10,000 a month business, a $30,000 a month business, which is more money than 99% of people will ever get to make, yet they expect it without any pain, without any friction. So by doing research like that, you will very quickly become the go-to in your niche. And what people don't get, and it's often a limiting belief that people have is that in order to get started and sign your first couple customers, you don't need to be an expert. However, you do need to get started, put in the work, do some intense research on your niche, reach out to them, start pitching them to actually be able to become an expert. Step number 5, how to price your offer. Now, when you're selling services, what's amazing is that you're going to charge your customers a monthly payment. So for instance, when you're doing consulting, typically it's going to be a one-off payment. It's not going to be per month. For instance, since I teach my customers how to build a profitable SMMA, I don't do it for them. I charge a one-time fee. They don't have to pay me every single month, which is a huge benefit because it's essentially like teaching a man to fish instead of giving him a fish. If I teach you how to fish, you don't need me anymore. You can just fish for yourself. But when you sell a service, you can charge anywhere from $500 per month all the way up to $5,000 per month. And sometimes, depending on your offer, the complexity of your service, and who you sell it to, some offers can sell for even more than that. But that's typically a benchmark. But when you're just getting started, the best range to sell your services would be between $1,000 per month up to $3,000 per month. So just think about this. If you were to sell a service for $2,000 per month, you would only need to work with 5 customers to make $10,000 per month. Now, the most important thing when you want to figure out what kind of price you should set for your service is whether or not the prospect can actually afford it. If you try to sell a $3,000 package to 15-year-olds, chances are you would have a very low closing rate because there's no way in hell most 15-year-olds could pay you $3,000. It simply won't happen, which is why it's also another big pro of doing SMMA, because since you sell services to business owners, they have the money to pay you 99% of the time because they already set aside 2 to 10K per month that they're going to spend on marketing or external consultants. So if they don't pay you, they're going to pay somebody else. Either way, they will spend that money, and for them, it's a benefit really, because they get to deduct it from their taxes and of course make more money if they hire a good service provider. But if a business doesn't have any money to literally grow their business, it makes no sense. Every single business has enough money to invest into growing their business. It would be different if you were selling to consumers, but since you're selling to businesses, most of the time, if you get the objection, I can't afford it, it's actually a smoke screen. There's something that they're not willing to tell you, and you need to figure out what it is in order to crush the objection. Now, step number 6, how to get customers. There's 3 ways we can do that. 1 is paid, 2 are organic, meaning you don't necessarily have to spend any money to get customers. Now let's take a look at the first way, the paid way to get customers, and then I will explain in detail how to get customers for free. Typically, when you're doing paid advertising, you need to be able and willing to spend at least between $1,000 to $2,000 per month initially. If you can't afford that, don't go to paid ads, you will lose everything. And in fact, I always recommend my customers that they first start with organic marketing. If you didn't even sign 1 customer, you don't have proof of concept. You don't actually know if your offer works or not, because people vote with their money. People can tell you, oh, your offer sounds amazing, it's really good, but if they don't buy, they don't get a vote. People vote with their money, because for all you know, they could be polite. They could be telling you, oh, I'm really interested, but they're actually not. The only way you know if they're really interested is if they've paid you. So typically, when using paid advertising, we get customers using a simple funnel. You run an ad to a squeeze page, so basically you ask people for an email, and then you give them a free value video in exchange, and then they can book a call with you. Now, not everybody who books a call will actually show up. Show up rate is typically between 50% to sometimes 80%. It depends on what you sell, your industry, it depends on many factors. But if your show up rate is below 50%, you really need to work on it because it's a real issue. But not everybody who shows up on the call will actually become a paying customer. So ideally, you need to figure out how much it's costing you to acquire 1 customer with this kind of funnel, because if you don't know, you might even be losing money on that funnel without even realizing it. But again, if you don't even have proof of concept, you're not making at least 5K per month, forget about paid advertising for now. We'll come back to that later. Now let's focus on organic ways to get your ideal customers to pay you, because running ads is like adding fuel on the fire. If you don't have the small flame first, don't just pour gasoline on the floor. It's stupid, it's pointless, and it's a mess to clean. First, you need that small flame, and then you pour gasoline on the fire and it becomes something crazy. But too many people try to make 100K per month without even first making 1K per month. Like, I know 1K per month is boring, but take it 1 step at a time, and before you realize it, you'll be making 100K per month. That's how the game works. Before worrying about getting dozens of clients, first get your first customer. That's what your main goal should be right now. It should be your obsession to get your first client or your first couple customers if you've already been able to get one. But once you get your first client, it will open up your mind to so many new possibilities, because you will realize, wow, this is insane. And when you get 1 client, you can get 10, you can get 100. But if you can't get 1, you'll never get 10, you'll never get 100. The first organic method to get customers is to directly reach out to your ideal customers. So you would reach out to people on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, cold email, etc. And when you're doing this, you need to understand volume negates luck. I speak to a lot of people on a weekly basis, and sometimes people tell me they've reached out to 20 people in 3 months, and they wonder why they're broke. I mean, come on, you need to reach out to a lot of people. The more people you reach out to, the higher your chances of signing a customer. It's really that simple. Now you want to be straight to the point. Don't just send, hey, how are you? Because I personally never respond to messages like that, because I know the person is most likely trying to sell me something, but they don't even have the balls to tell me what or how it could benefit me. So I don't even answer. Instead, be straight to the point. Explain exactly what you could offer and how it could help them, and offer a free value video in exchange of their email. Because if somebody isn't even willing to give you their email, they were never going to buy from you anyway. We need that small commitment in the first place. And when somebody agrees to send you their email, they go from being a cold lead, somebody who's never heard of you, who doesn't even care about what you do necessarily, to being a warm lead, somebody who knows you and who's interested in hearing more about it. And then you send them the free value video, and some people will book a call, some won't. And the more people who see your free value video, the more booked calls you will have in your calendar, and the more customers you will sign. The other organic method to get your first clients for free, and that method is extremely powerful, and it can make you 8 to 9 figures per year. I'm not joking. It's to make free valuable content on social media to attract your ideal customers. The best part about making content is the insane amount of leverage it gives you. I had somebody one day comment on my videos, well, if you make 1K a day, why do you make YouTube videos? And I can tell for a fact this person has no basic understanding of business, because making content is free advertising. And for a business, being able to get customers for free, or even being paid to get customers, because on YouTube there's things like AdSense revenue, that is the holy grail. We've never had something like that before. Before, businesses had to pay every time to get a client, unless they were getting customers through referrals or word of mouth. But nowadays, we can have free advertising. Do you realize how insane this is? And the best part about making content is that the same piece of content can reach 100 potential customers, 100,000 potential customers, 1,000,000 potential customers. Whereas when you send an outreach message, one message will never be more than one message. One message is one message. It's not going to automatically turn into 100,000 messages. Now, when you're making content, you want to make your content around different stages of awareness of your ideal prospects. So level 1 is unaware. They've never heard of you. They have no idea they have a problem in the first place. So let's say, to give you an example, I'll take my own example. I help people to start or scale their own SMMA or consulting business. So level 1, unaware, would be people who don't even know you can start a business online. Level 2 would be problem aware. So in my example, it would be people who have a 9-to-5 job, they don't like it, but they want to have more freedom. They know building an online business is the best way to make money online. Or they're agency owners, coaches, and consultants who have that business and they want to scale it. So they know they have a problem, but they don't know how to fix it. Level 3 is solution aware. So for example, in the case of a beginner, they know starting an online business is the best thing they can do, but they have no idea which is the best business model to pick. For instance, I have a video on my channel called The Best Online Business for Beginners in 2025. This is a video targeting people who are solution aware but not problem aware. They know they have that problem, but they don't know how to get there. They don't even know I have something to offer. Now, level 4 is product aware. They know they have a problem. They know your product can help them to solve that problem, but they're not fully informed about it yet. They still have some doubts, they're not really sure, they need more information. And level 5 is most aware. They know what your product is and what it does, they just haven't gotten around to purchasing yet. It can be because maybe at the moment they don't have the money. Maybe they were prioritizing spending their money on something else. Or maybe they just need a little bit more convincing. They need a bit more information. And most of your content should be made around people who are problem aware. They know they have a problem, they just don't know how to fix it, because that way you will attract the most amount of people in your niche. And that's how small channels with not even 10k subs and not even 100,000 views per month can actually make a lot of money. 10, 20, 30, even 50k per month sometimes. Now, which method should you do? Should you reach out to potential customers or just make free valuable content? Ideally, when you're just getting started, you want to do both. And then at some point, when you've scaled up your business, you'll be able to just use free content and paid advertising to get your ideal customers, and that will allow you to scale to 8 figures. But first, if you're not even at 6 figures per year, you want to focus on reaching out to potential customers and also providing free valuable content on social media. Because when you make content and you build a brand around your expertise, it only increases your authority and your credibility, which will help you to sign more customers. And you have to understand that when you directly reach out to potential customers, the growth curve is linear, meaning you're going to start booking meetings pretty quickly and you will see results pretty quickly. Whereas with content, it's the opposite. The growth curve is exponential. At first, you're not going to see a lot of results, but a few months down the line, you'll start to book more and more meetings with your ideal prospects. So if you do both, ideally, you benefit from first a slow growth with making content, but then you get that exponential growth. Whereas with outreach, you're only ever going to get linear results. So at some point, you're kind of maxed out. But if you do both, you get the best of both worlds. And then eventually you're able to stop doing manual outreach, because now you have such a huge pipeline with your free content and with your ads, you don't need to worry about directly reaching out to people anymore, because now people just come to you. Now, step number 7 is closing sales meetings. It's one thing to get people to hop on a meeting with you, but then not everybody who who books a meeting will actually show up. Remember, show up rate is between typically 50% to 80%. It depends on the industry, on how you even got that meeting in the first place, and many different other factors. But then, once people show up on the call, you need to close them. You need to turn them into paying customers, because you could be getting lots of meetings, but if you don't know how to sell, you won't make a single cent. That's the truth. Even though you could have a very great service or product that could genuinely change people's lives. Now, if you correctly follow this process, you should be able to close about 25% of all the people that you hop on a call with. The first part of the call is a small chat. It shouldn't last more than 2 minutes really. It's just to break the ice and to get the conversation going. So you'd say something like, hey, how are you? Where are you calling me from today? Okay, let's dive right in. Let's start talking about how we can help you to grow your business. And then you want to make it clear how this call is going to go. You want to tell people, I'm going to ask you some questions. I want to see who you are, what your goals are, and if I can genuinely help you, I'll make you an offer and I explain how it works, and then it's completely up to you whether or not you would like to be a part of it. Does that sound good? And if somebody really wants to ask you some questions or whatever, they're not taking your lead, they're never going to close anyway. So just end the call right there. There's no point in continuing. You have to be the one who's leading the call. The next part of the call is what we call discovery, meaning you're going to ask the prospect some questions about their current situation, because we want to figure out what's going on in their life right now. What's the state of their business? Because if we don't know, we can't even help them. And then we want to ask them questions related to what they want. That way, it creates a clear picture in the prospect's mind of their current situation, their current problems, and what they want. Because the goal of the call is to position yourself and your offer as the vehicle to bridge the gap between where they are now and where they want to be. Because people only ever buy solutions to their painful problems. The next part that comes after that is the pitch. You should be explaining your offer, how it works, and then the lead is going to ask you some questions about how it could work for them. And you only want to move on to the pricing when you're sure they've really understood how it works and they're convinced this is the right thing for them. Then you give them your price. And then either they sign up right now, or they will tell you things like, I need to think about it, oh, I'm not too sure, or whatever, or things like that. And that's when handling objections come. And the difference between average salespeople and great salespeople is that incredible salesmen not only sell transformations instead of raw materials, services, or coaching, or deliverables, they sell a dream, a future, but on top of that, they're insanely good at handling objections. Typically, on 10 people that you speak with, one knows for sure they're never going to buy no matter what you do. One knows for sure they're going to buy even if you messed everything up, because they really believe in what you do, and 8 of them, they will need your help to decide. Some will close, some won't, but depending on how good you are at sales, more or less people will close, because your prospect needs to share your confidence that you can help them to reach the goal that they want. And you have to understand, people only ever buy a product or a service because of what they're going to get out of it. You never buy a box of chocolates because you want a box of chocolates. You buy a box of chocolates because you want to feel good. You want the dopamine that will be released in your body when the chocolate hits your taste buds. People go to personal trainers not because they want to spend 1 hour with somebody. They don't care about that. They want to lose the weight. They want to lose 20 pounds. They want to get in shape, whatever it may be. Now, when handling objections, you have to be able to differentiate between genuine objections and fake smokescreen objections. When somebody says, I need time to think about it, that's not the real objection. You need to figure out what's behind it. And typically, it can be a money objection, like we just don't have the budget for this, or it could be a time objection. They don't think they have enough time, or it could be even something else, but you need to figure out what it is exactly. And when a prospect throws at you an objection, they're expecting you to say something. But a lot of salespeople, they won't even try to sell anything because they're afraid of conflict. They're afraid of upsetting the prospect. But believe me, you won't. If you do it properly, there's no reason. First, you want to acknowledge that, okay, great, that's actually a great question. Thank you for saying that. And then you want to clarify what they've asked you or what the problem was. And handling objections just becomes about helping the prospect to see more clearly that what you have to offer is exactly what they need. Now, if you know on the call you can't help the person, you don't want to make them an offer. Only ever make an offer to someone if you know you can help them and they are a good fit for what you do. Step number 8, service delivery. There are 2 forms of service delivery. The first is that you can provide the service yourself. Let's say you were to provide web design and you know how to create websites yourself. You could provide that as a service for your clients. Or let's say you want more free time, or you want to scale your business further, or you don't have any skills or any work experience. You can leverage remote contractors to deliver the service for your customers. And the other way to deliver services is to do coaching, consulting. So to teach people how to do it themselves with your help. So you could give them a coaching program, and on top of that, they receive a course, or it could be one-on-one coaching. And at first, typically, you start by providing services like what I did back in 2022 when I was doing done-for-you lead generation services for agency owners, coaches, and consultants. And then you work your way up to consulting, unless you're in a niche which is like helping people to lose weight or helping people to find more dates, because you can't do it for them. You have to do it with them. Teach them how it's done. Now, if you're going to leverage remote contractors, how do you actually find good remote contractors? Upwork is amazing. Facebook groups is also amazing. Like, there's plenty of Facebook Facebook groups for like web developers, for like people who book appointments, VAs and stuff. You can find lots of great remote contractors in those. But the best way to find your own contractors, it will always be through your network, which is why it is crucial to build one. And when you work with a contractor, you want to have very clear and very specific guidelines to give them. They need to know exactly what you expect out of them. Now, step number 9 is asking for testimonials and referrals. Testimonials and referrals are a great way to help you to get more business. Now, if you rely on referrals alone, you won't be able to scale your business consistently or predictably. So don't just rely on referrals, it's a horrible idea. But if you can get referrals from your existing customers, it's free money because it requires you to spend no money on paid advertising, so you have a $0 cost per acquisition. But when people also see testimonials, they think, oh wow, if it worked for other people, why couldn't it work for me? And it's always extremely powerful to be able to show your prospects, look, others have worked with us before, they've liked it, they've gotten results from it because of the social proof aspect. It's like if you go on Amazon and you want to buy, let's say, a lamp or a computer and you see it's got no reviews, it's going to feel a bit scammy, it's not going to look right, and even though it could be a great computer or a great lamp or whatever, you won't really trust it deep down. Now, when one of your prospects was referred to you by another business owner that you helped, that's actually extremely powerful because they're so much more likely to buy. It's like you right now. If your friend told you, look, this service provider changed my life, his product is amazing, his service is amazing, you need to work with them, then you'd be like, okay, yeah, I want to know more about it, because you value the opinion of your friend. It's like if I told you right now, those chocolates, or let's say X brand of chocolates, it's the best chocolates in the world, you need to try them. You're going to at least be curious and want to buy a box to see for yourself. Now, how do you sign your first customer, even if you've got no case studies and no testimonials? You can do two things. You can either decide to get one client and work for free in exchange of a testimonial, but if you have the confidence required to just go ahead and pitch people, I suggest you do that. Because if people can feel that you're truly confident, that you know what you're selling, a lot of them won't even ask you for case studies or testimonials. And you have to realize, before every business owner made, let's say, 10K per month or 20K per month, or whatever the number may be, they didn't have any clients, right? So they had to get their first customer too. And if it was impossible to get customers with no case studies, no testimonials, then nobody would be able to build a successful business ever. It's like the chicken or the egg, which one comes first, you know? Now, that being said, there is so much more that goes into building a profitable SMMA or even scaling one. So if you want to get my help, and if you want to see if you qualify for working with me closely, I invite you to book a call, and this is probably the best thing you'll ever do in your life, trust me. And if I say I can genuinely help you, I'll make you an offer, and if I can't help you, then that's okay too. But you've got nothing to lose by trying. Now, I do want to mention, there won't be enough spots for everyone, so book your call, and I will see you then. And with that being said, if you found this video harmful, share it with a friend, and together, let's blow up this YouTube channel to empower more ambitious individuals to become financially free. And when we get to 100,000 subs, I will be giving away $10,000.